Hello, and welcome to an exciting edition of ADP 432 online in reference to concept maps as an assessment tool for learning generation and knowledge assessment. So what we're going to do is just recap a little bit about standards-based grading. We'll look into concept maps, define them, organize them, and then I'll give you your task that you'll need to create a concept map for a particular topic area or book of your choice. Just a review of standards-based grading, some of the main points I wanted you to take away was, especially from the Scriffney article, that standards-based grading provides meaning to grades and feedback. So what I really mean by this is that when students receive feedback in the form of standards and objective meeting and things like that, then they really understand a little bit more about the skills and concepts that they need to be able to do and the level at which they need to perform them. Standards-based grading allows for better adjustment of instruction because if you know what standards you need to meet and how those standards are organized throughout your week or month or year even, then you know where you're heading and you can better plan your instruction based upon the standards, based upon what standards still need to be met, and so forth. Standards-based grading does lay the groundwork for other reforms in looking at curriculum mapping. You're not going to do this your first year, but in your second or third year, once you get a handle on the activities that you're doing, how you're meeting certain objectives, you can then lay out in a really nice Excel spreadsheet what standards are being met by what activities and by what assessments. And so this is how looking at standards-based grading helps you create your assessment system. It'll also help you interact with your colleagues because you're only focused on specific objectives, specific standards, and you're able to say, hey, I have this group of students who's performing below the standard, or I have this group of students who's performing above the standard, and it might also lead towards further interactions, differentiation between teachers. It'll also really help in your communication with your parents. Because many times parents ask, well, so what are they doing in class? Or many parents will also see things that come home and they say, well, what's an A mean? What's a B mean? And so in this case, not only do they get some sort of letter, like we talked about Imani, for example, they get a letter where they're exceeding, they're meeting, they're on target to meet the standard, but then they also know what the standard is, so that they're more able to help children at home, so they can better support children at home as well. In the Reeves article, one of the things I wanted you to take away is that a move to standards-based grading helps you create more authentic assessments. It opens up more avenues for the application of 21st century skills. You're able to get in more of those skills like problem solving, creativity, extension activities, because you know exactly where the children are in relation to the standard. And last but not least, one of the things standards-based grading helps us do is be very transparent in what children need to accomplish and how they need to accomplish it, especially in the writing of our SLOs. Okay, so let's move on to concept mapping. Concept mapping is a pretty big idea. What I'm going to do is go through this concept map in more detail, in specific details. So you will find a blank concept map that you can fill in as I talk about each of these. And I'll try to be quick to keep this full video under 15 minutes for you. So let's start over on the left-hand side where we talk about the definition of concept maps and how we work through this. So concept maps can be defined as the demonstration of meaningful relationships among concepts in the form of propositions. to really gain a big understanding of propositions is to really understand how concept maps help and work. So the whole idea is, and if you look at this presentation, I'm using propositions throughout. So concept maps are defined as these meaningful relationships, the demonstration and illustration of meaningful relationships. And so that in itself is a proposition. I have an item connected with a verb to another item. Okay, so right there I have some sort of proposition. So in fact, concept maps contain relationships that connect brain cells. So basically, we understand that learning occurs through the connection of brain cells, through the connection of neurons, lots of different neurons, and also the strengthening of those connections, right? So when children build concept maps, they're actually actively creating the connections between neurons or sets of neurons in order to help create those connections, in order to help create that new knowledge, and also to strengthen perhaps prior knowledge that they have. Concept maps also contain, well, as we said, propositions. Propositions connect to concepts. So as we move through this, you really have to gain an understanding and get that basic knowledge of what a proposition is. And you can see I'm connecting propositions. You can see the propositions connect to concepts. So what I'm doing is creating almost like concept, verb, concept, and there are certain ways that these things connect, and so that's where the whole idea of concept maps works. Concept maps are different than webs. Okay, so webs, you don't have to label the arrows, the lines and arrows. Concept maps, we are labeling the lines and arrows in order to create propositions. Let's move into the second one, and you'll see some more ideas here about what I mean by the lines and arrows. So concept maps are hierarchical. They're organized from broad to narrow nodes. So nodes are another way of saying concepts. Nodes, you'll notice in this presentation, are these rounded boxes. These are nodes. Okay, what they are connected by, these lines and arrows, these typically are verbs, or they are some sort of connecting word that creates that connection between the two nodes or between the two concepts. So again, in this way, concept maps start with big ideas and then they narrow down to more specific pieces. And you can see I'm modeling the idea that I'd like you to be able to create as well. I'm going to head way over to the other side of this presentation. So concept maps enhance learner development through the use of metacognition and feedback. So we have talked a lot in this class about what it takes to build self-regulated learners, and I hope you've also gained the really strategic importance of feedback and how to provide good feedback. So all of these things work together, and concept maps are a really important method of developing learner metacognition, and also a great way to provide feedback for the learner. This is all self-regulated learning stuff, and also maybe for you, so you see the connections that students are making. Obviously, concept maps are a really big, difficult idea for early childhood, and so one of the things that's going to be really important is to be able to scaffold how to make concept maps and what you mean by linking concepts together and labeling the arrows and lines, because I'm sure that you have not done this very much, and so for kindergartners to be able to do this, you're going to have to be able to do this. So let's go into here. So concept maps help teachers identify the content, right? So even by me making this concept map about the article on concept mapping, it helped me organize what's important for you. Having presented this presentation 2 or 3 times and done this activity with students 2 or 3 times, I actually remember really well what it is I want to say and how I want to say it through the use of this concept map. So I can tell you concept maps are enormously effective in having that knowledge as well. Teachers also use concept maps to help identify prior knowledge. You do this anyway. You know how to do this through webbing, through KWL charts and other sorts of graphic organizers. And don't forget in the environmental education articles that you read, identifying prior knowledge and getting students to identify those prior knowledges actually helps us scaffold the new learning that happens and also helps them branch off into new questions, new ideas, and where their learning might take them. So how do you use concept maps? Well, teachers use them. Well, you can use them through direct instruction. At first, what you'll want to do is sit down with your overhead projector of sorts, or your document cam, whatever you have going on, and you want to model this technique. You want to show students how to do this. And in fact, I would keep this enormously simple. I've worked with children who are able to do, in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, we're able to do very simple organizational pieces. In many cases, what I'll do is I create a box, a line or arrow, and another box, and I might have 3 sets of those boxes and arrows to be able to pull apart a story or to be able to pull apart a video, maybe something that they've seen. So we want to be able to use these concept maps in multiple areas, multiple arenas throughout our instruction. So it is really, really important that you scaffold how to do these concept maps, and you are simplifying it for the younger ages. In fact, under 6 and 7, so below kindergarten especially, you're going to want to do pictures. You might even create those pictures, and then they create, or you create the links and they create the pictures, so you can go either way with this. All right, so that's mostly what I've got for you, at least going through this idea of what a concept map is, how you can use them, how you teach with them, and the importance of using concept maps you'll see as a really important way to assess and to give feedback and to help students build that metacognitive awareness that's so important in self-regulated learning. The task that you have to do, which will be due in the assignment section of Canvas and is worth 25 points, is a group grade, so all of you should work on this together, is to develop a concept map prototype. So as a teacher, it is enormously important, as I mentioned, for you to be able to develop the concept map prior to teaching so that you know what information needs to be extracted. You have an idea of what you're going to be asking from students. So what I'd like you to do is develop some objectives, starting with your concept map, right? So we're going to look at, is it a concept, skills, procedures, relationships? What do you want to get from your concept map is what I'm looking for here. So what are you measuring and how are you measuring it, and aligning those pieces together. I want you as a group to come up with a book that you all know. So you decide on a book that you want to use, and then you're going to create a snag style lesson plan. And this is my type of lesson plan here. So as a starter, I want you to create an experiential learning environment. So let's say you find a book on weather, okay? So you want to teach the concept of weather through literacy and whatnot. Change of seasons perhaps is an idea here. And so your starter obviously is to get kids outside, right? It's to get them moving and going, and to notice different seasonal pieces, different concepts, and so forth. You bring in the book, you teach them the new information. Perhaps you use the concept map to teach the new information. Maybe students create their own. You decide. However it goes, the book has to be part of that new information. Maybe the students use the concept map to create another end product, a big end product. Maybe they use the concept map to help them apply. When I say apply here, so you go new information where you have your concept map. Then you go to apply. And the apply example has to be a way in which either they use the concept map or maybe they don't use the concept map. But they have to be able to apply what they've learned in a totally new situation. In many cases, I'm looking at what I have right next to me is my famous DOK wheel. And so you may want to choose an item, choose a next level, a stretch idea for students to be able to apply. You might also create multiple choices for students because we know choice breeds motivation. So that's the apply piece. Remember, the apply piece is definitely hypothetical. For the new information where you're using the book, you are creating the concept map. And so I want to see your concept map. So you have to create this electronically. Or you can create it on a piece of paper and take a picture, either way. Last but not least, just give me a final generalization or summarizing activity. So this could be anything from an exit slip to a ticket out the door, an exit interview, anything you want to do, post-its, anything you want to do to just check what did the students learn from this. Okay, so let me just give you the big idea on this one more time. You are creating a lesson plan that includes a concept map. Okay, you're going to create as a group, you choose a book, maybe some standards that might go along with that book. As I mentioned, the weather, the changing of seasons. So I have a snow book, for example. You tell me what you're going to do for the experiential learning. Tell me how you're going to use the book and the concept map together. So in essence, you create the concept map in order to help you teach through that direct instruction idea. If you want to turn this on its head, you can have students create the concept map. It depends on the grade level you're looking at, right? So if this is kindergarten or first grade, you might change this up versus a third grade, second grade idea. You're going to create an apply activity, which is a hypothetical activity that students would be able to apply their knowledge or transfer their knowledge. I would definitely use the DOK or a Bloom's idea. And then finally, a final summative, it's more of a formative assessment, a knowledge check or a skill check to see where students are going to go next. So all of this gets turned in as a Google form, or not a Google form, a Google Doc that your group will have shared with me. Okay? Any further questions, please make sure that you email me, and I'll be happy to get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for listening.